Okay, now that we know all the different ways to factor, we're going to solve a quadratic equation by factoring. So first thing you always want to make sure is that your equation is set equal to 0. And this first example under example 3 is done. Second thing, let's look at each of the terms and look for your greatest common factor. Okay, I don't see a common factor across all the terms, so I'm going to do this by factoring by split the middle. So step 1 is 21 times negative 4 is negative 84. What we're trying to do is find the two numbers that multiply to negative 84 but add up to 8. Those two numbers are going to be 14 and negative 6, and we're going to rewrite this problem using these two numbers. So I'm going to split that 8, so don't write the 8, but rewrite it, split it up using these two numbers that we just found. Everything else stays the same. Then I'm going to take two terms at a time, and you're looking for the greatest common factor. The number is 21 and 14. Notice that you have a common factor of a 7 that you can divide out. Also, both terms have an n. I'm going to factor that out, and what's left? 21 divided by 7 leaves me with the 3. There was an n squared. One of the n comes out here, so another factor of n stays inside. Plus 14 divided by 7 is a 2. The n is factored out, so I don't need to write it. Then you're going to bring down the next sign that you see, which is a minus sign, and you're going to do the same thing with the next two terms. You're looking for what's the biggest thing that you can divide out. I can divide out a 2 out of both 6 and 4. And there's no n in both of them, so I'm just going to plot the 2. Same thing, 6 divided by 2 leaves me with a 3. The n is still there. Since we pulled out this negative sign, this minus sign will turn into a plus, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then I notice these two factors are the same. They should always be the same. So your first factor is 3n plus 2. Then whatever's left over is going to be the second factor. So this is now factored. But now I want to solve this equation. So if you remember, we just take each factor and set it equal to 0. So 3n plus 2 equals 0, or the other answer is 7n minus 2 equals 0. And then we're just going to solve for n. So get n by itself. Minus 2 divide by 3. So n equals negative 2/3 is one of my answers. The other one is add 2 divide by 7. So n equals 2 over 7 is the other answer. Okay, the next example, notice this one is not set equal to 0. So what you want to do is we're going to take this, move it to the other side. So I'm going to subtract the 12x. I'm going to also do it to the other side. Make sure you put it underneath the 10x because you want to combine like terms. I also need to move this 10, so I'm going to subtract 10. Also minus 10 here. So here I have 8x squared. This becomes minus 2x. Negative 11 minus 10 is minus 21, and I have set equal to 0. So once I have set equal to 0, we're going to factor. Again, I do not see a greatest common factor, so I'm going to do split the middle. So first step, 8 times negative 21 is negative 168. We need to find two numbers that multiply to negative 168, but adds up to this middle number, which is negative 2. Just use your calculator until you find it. The two numbers are going to be negative 14 and 12. Multiplies negative 168, but when you add them, it gives you negative 2. Again, rewrite the problem using those two numbers. And then we take 2 at a time. The biggest number I can divide out of 8 and 14 is a 2. I also notice both of them have an x. That's my greatest common factor. That leaves me with a 4x minus 7. Bring down the next sign, which is a plus sign. The biggest number I can divide out of 12 and 21 is a 3. That also leaves me with 4x minus 7, which is what I'm looking for. So your factored form is 4x minus 7, and then 2x plus 3 is the other factor. So this is in factored form, but we need to finish the problem, solve for x. So you just take each factor and set it equal to 0. So you're just trying to get x by itself now. So add 7, and then divide by 4. So x equals 7 over 4 is one answer. The other one is minus 3 divided by 2. So x equals negative 3 over 2 is your other solution. So these are my two solutions.